All right, everybody, I am back with a brand new DC update. And the reason I'm smiling this morning is because my last video had to be one of the most divisive videos I have done on YouTube yet. And it was freaking hilarious to read the comments, especially the ones where people came out and called me a liar. And I'm showing people actual numbers, real numbers, and people call me a liar. And it's become painstakingly obvious to me at this stage that people can't handle the truth. They just can't handle the truth. When you show them real stuff and it doesn't fit their narrative, they just go insane. And it's hilarious to watch people implode online. The same thing happened with Twitter, and it's just funny to see the responses. And I can't. It cracks me up. People, those were real numbers. And we're going to look at some photos today in regards to DC, but I wanted to address this issue first because it was freaking hilarious. And there's one thing I have to correct from my last video, and it's the fact that I thought those numbers were for the U.S. only when it came to Rebel Moon, and I was mistaken. That is actually worldwide. But so are the numbers for HBO Max. And the other thing a couple things people pointed out. First of all, one of the other things people pointed out is that when I talked about the Zack Snyder's Justice League numbers, that was for 1 week versus 3 weekends for the Suicide Squad. And so the thing is, HBO Max has never given the full numbers for Zack Snyder's Justice League, and they keep that as an exclusive, although they have licensed it out to Amazon, but they're keeping the numbers very tight-knit for that specific movie because it's been special for them. They just don't want to admit it, okay? But those were the numbers at the time. And at the time, Zack Snyder's Justice League was only available, HBO Max was only available in the U.S. There was no worldwide release on HBO Max, and so only people in the U.S. were able to see that movie. I also had some people come in and say that you're skewing the numbers, that you can't compare like my channel, a big channel on YouTube, to my channel, that the big channels are going to get more views than the little channels. And to that I say, you're proving my point even more, because I'm going to use The Suicide Squad, which I think is a terrible film. We're going to use The Suicide Squad as an example of what you're propping up with that comment. Number one, HBO Max did not have as many subscribers, and you're absolutely right, which means there were only 2 ways to watch The Suicide Squad when it was released. Go to the theater or stream it on HBO Max. Not that many streamed it on HBO Max versus something like Rebel Moon. Well, you're saying that the install base is smaller for HBO Max, but you're absolutely right. So for all the rest of the people that don't have HBO Max, their only option was to go to the movies, which they didn't do. So nobody cared about it on HBO Max. Nobody went to see it in theaters. It was a huge bomb. Up until some of the recent releases, it was the biggest bomb that DC had had. And it sold like crap on physical media. Nobody cares about the Suicide Squad. You know what did do well? Zack Snyder's Justice League. It streamed well. It continues to stream well. We know that. They're not showing the numbers, but we know that they're holding on to it because it's exclusive to them, and they're afraid they're going to lose some of their subscribers, which they would. It brought subscribers to HBO Max. It's a fact. It also sold crazy on physical media. You couldn't find it in a lot of places. And some people came into the comments and said, well, I could find it super easily on 4K. Yeah, you might have. I live in a big metropolitan area where, stores are sold out of stuff quite often. In fact, I wasn't able to get Oppenheimer or even see it in stores until about 4 weeks after its release, which is crazy. These movies are selling out. Hollywood wants to move away from physical media, but the thing is, you can't find a lot of this stuff in stores when it gets released and it gets sold out. Like, they need to make more. Physical media would sell more, and they get their biggest jump in those initial days when it's released. And so thank you guys for proving my point. I really appreciate those comments. It's funny, I don't think people are thinking through what they're saying when they actually come in and make comments like that. The fact is, out of those 3 films, The Suicide Squad was the worst, is the worst, and you cannot justify the numbers. You cannot twist it in your own way to make it seem like it was better. It wasn't. It didn't stream well. Even though at the time it was the biggest stream for HBO Max, it didn't stream well ultimately. It didn't sell well on physical media, and people did not go to the movies to see it. And yet that's the guy who's in charge of DC. I'm just putting it out there, guys. These are facts. You cannot refute them. Those are facts. I'm not skewing it to my, I'm not manipulating it to something to where I'm trying to prove a point. It's just a fact. Those things are the facts. So I'm sorry if you can't, as people tell me, I'm sorry if you can't cope. But it is what it is. And so let's take a look at a couple of the DC things, and also know that I will be finally having a Star Wars update later today. There was some comment that one of the directors of the new Rey movie, the director of the new Rey movie came out and said yesterday that I think is absolutely crazy, and it just goes to show you that Disney's not willing to change their ways. So I will be covering that a little bit later today, but I wanted to get this DC update first. So let's take a look at the photos that I've grabbed since yesterday. All right, so the first thing I wanted to show you here is David Ayer is still getting very vocal on social media. And on Twitter yesterday, somebody commented that the studio wanted a Guardians of the Galaxy type of film with his Suicide Squad movie. And this person said, "I will forever say this, but I can honestly see that Warner Brother higher-ups sitting in a conference room asking, how can we make MCU money? LOL. They didn't want to stay on course with what they had, and they literally copied everything about the MCU, jokes and or tone." And this was the response by David Ayer. He said, "You're not wrong." And it's hilarious. He's not mincing words here, but he's not being rude to the studio as well. But that's exactly what happened. They changed course. Instead of doing something serious and more adult-oriented, they moved into going into this weird, goofy comedy area, and that's not the way his movie was. His movie was definitely more serious, and I hope one day we do get to finally see it. So this also came across my social media yesterday, and this is somebody asking David Ayer. He said, "I'm sure you get a lot of DC-related questions. Sorry in advance. Would you ever consider working in James Gunn's new DC template? Any characters you'd like to take a run at?" This was David Ayer's response. "I'm good. I wish James and Warner Brothers all the success possible." Again, I love these responses. So we get this now from David Ayer. We had Ben Affleck say the exact same thing. And this seems to be, and I've shown, in other videos, I've shown other creators who have said the exact same thing. But they want nothing to do with Warner Brothers. These are people who are done with Warner Brothers because of the way they were treated. It's just crazy to see that there's only a certain group of people that actually want to work with James Gunn. Now, this does fall under pretty much a Rebel Moon, but I'm not going to be doing a full Rebel Moon update. I think I'm going to have to mix them back in with the DC stuff because it's going to be slow going for a while. But Zack Snyder is unstoppable. This was posted by somebody today, Mr. J, Joker Late Night. And this is from The Guardian, and it says, "Rebel Moon, despite the stream of terrible reviews, Zack Snyder seems unstoppable." And it's true. It is doing really well. And the numbers, we're going to look at something here in a minute that puts the numbers into perspective. So this was posted by Our Movie News, and I know a lot of people on my channel hate this channel. I do not. I don't have a beef with anybody. There's people I think are pretty juvenile on YouTube. I don't see Our Movie News as one of those. They do their best to engage their audience. I'm always going to be genuine. I'm never going to flip because of anything. But what they said is Army of the Dead had 75 million views after 28 days of release, which was another big hit for Netflix, which at the time put it in the top 10 most viewed Netflix originals. Rebel Moon at this stage, just in, it's not even over 2 weeks. It hasn't even been 2 weeks yet. It says Rebel Moon only needs 17 million more views in just over 2 weeks to overtake Army of the Dead, which was also classed as a success. So think about that. It took almost a month for Army of the Dead to reach 75 million views, but it looks like Rebel Moon will reach that sometime in the next week before Army of the Dead did. And it is expected to reach into the top 10 most viewed Netflix originals. And I could tell you that the number, here's the interesting thing about Rebel Moon. Because they have part 2 coming out in April, you're going to see more views on Rebel Moon as we get closer to that. And then it's just going to continue to rise. And so this is a special situation that they have created. And it's going to continue pushing more views for Rebel Moon. So we're going to see this stay on the charts for quite a while, people. It's the way it was manufactured to work, and it will definitely be overtaking Army of the Dead. Now, this is pretty cool. I forgot the person. I wanted to give credit. Somebody sent this off to me last week when only a few. I think they had done Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, but these are some new. I think these are my favorite art picks. If anybody knows who this is, I would like to give this person credit and check out more of their art. But I absolutely love these character photos for the characters that Zack Snyder had cast in these roles, and I just love the look of these. I think it's pretty freaking awesome. So if anybody knows who this is, I would like to know. All right, so Margot Robbie was just asked if she will continue playing Harley Quinn. And this was a direct quote from her, which makes it sound like she is done with this character. But I doubt that Gunn is going to want to let her go because she was the one constant in the DCEU that everybody universally liked. But she said, I always wanted Harley to be a character that would get passed on to other actresses to play. The way there are so many iconic male characters. That was always the dream for her. And so she sees that character be played by many different people. And we do know that in the Joker sequel, she's going to be played by Lady Gaga. So it sounds like she's come to terms with the fact that she is done. But I don't think James Gunn is going to want to let her go. But we will find out here in the future. So Forbes had an article talking about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and how it has outgrossed the Marvels in under 2 weeks. Now, here's the thing about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I've done some research on this, and it sounds like Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom will not make as much money as Black Adam did, but it is going to be the highest grossing DCEU film over the last 4 films that were released. So it's going to beat The Flash. It is going to beat definitely Blue Beetle, and it is going to beat Shazam 2, but it will not beat Black Adam. Again, Black Adam was the anomaly in all of this, and it didn't even get a release in China. Where Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is doing really well is overseas. All right, guys, so there's my update for the day. As more stuff gets released, I will be covering it. Now, I had some people ask me about the Epstein list. It is still forthcoming, and as soon as that list gets released, it is going to be entertainment related. So I will do a video specifically on the Epstein list when it does come out and the names are there. From what I understand, only 3 names are going to be redacted. And I am betting that those 3 names are government officials or high-ranking like CIA or FBI officials. So I'm expecting that everyone else in that list will be outed. I heard it's only going to be 3 names redacted. And those are going to be some higher-up people that have something to lose if their names get released. And so I don't think they're going to be covering up for the Hollywood elites anymore. So we'll see what happens here when that gets released. But I will be covering that as well. All right, guys, I do appreciate all the support. Look for that Star Wars video later, and I will see you on that next update.